Tuesday, May 3rd, 2022, I'm watching CBS Morning in New York. I'm leading. There's a whole array of stories. I'm leading with a familial story, purposely. And then whatever comes after it is a question of, did you know? I mean, it's getting really bad in New York. So even though I had to go through the morning, I watched the whole visual, whatever, the one tube in a collapsing star system. So it mentions something about, now what I find interesting is, for years, there has been bupkis, really, on anything Windsor or Elizabeth II related or relatable. And there's the two kiddos, princes, but no, like they're usually in a photo and some talk over it, which I usually tune out because I always feel it's tabloid related. So whatever. But now they have this piece which caught my eye, not because it was to do with the woman herself. It had to do with the British Army, because I have these papers that came to New York while I'm in this collapsing star system with some very serious health issues. And they've been disseminating papers of Revolutionary War, American Revolutionary War, which the British are notated in those papers. So the fact that they actually put a face on what a British is impressive, because in the paperwork, other than a few historical referenced paintings, there's been no real world evidence or visual agreement or social convention of any kind in order to solidify and strengthen family bonds or ties or whatever, in some way of unity. But what even struck me more was the fact that on apparently, here's the tabloid-ish story, was that a priest shows up and the British Army just invites the priest in and drinks wine with him until the next morning they realize that he's not a priest, as if they would ever put their one supreme being that they have to whatever in harm's way. But whatever, and nobody really knows at couch potato level what they're all up to or into or how things run, but whatever. So on the wall is this symbol. It's some form of, I've heard the humans reference coat of arms, perhaps. It's some kind of symbology. But what captivated me more, or held my attention at the moment, was at the bottom. It's duet, but in a different duet. It's not D-E-U-X, it's D-I-E-U-Et, duet. It's a different type of duet. And then it's Mon Droit, instead of Mon Petite, which I find interesting. I mean, the words, the droit, I've thought of before, but not with any input from human whatsoever. It just sprang to mind, go figure. And how do humans work? Right, it's a collapsing star system. I'm not talking about it. So anyway, so it goes from that story, and then it goes into something to do in the Americas in like the 1920s. There's these three people something happened in Tulsa, Oklahoma. They're like 108 years old now, these people. They're holding on, and they're trying to sue and take money from innocent people that have nothing to do with the original whatever. They're just like scorned yesteryear, whatever, trying to ruin the lives of the current people. And then there's this gala that happened in New York City last night about Americana, and it's the same people who were trying to sue at 108 years old, like hundreds of millions of dollars. And what are they going to do with it? Yeah, God only knows. It's probably how we got all of these really horrible sports, whatever. So then it goes to this gala where they're all dressed up, parading around in something called a gilded gala. I wasn't invited. I've never even heard of it. And it's all about black and brown people. Again, I'm like, their storyline it's all about them 24 hours, 7 days. I'm so sick and tired of hearing about it. It is like mental torture, and it's like visual pokes in the eyes every time I have to turn the stupid tube on just to make a document of how oppressing and like they're choking the air in New York. I mean, I can't even get a job, money, or proper husbandry during this life frame in New York while this is all being pursued and elaborated on in some collaboration which is unbeknownst to me. So this is the morning whatever.
We're going to talk about that. But let's begin with a serious security breach near Windsor Castle, which is one of Queen Elizabeth II's royal residences. Monday newspapers report a man pretending to be a priest. I don't know why he would choose that outfit, but a priest spent the night eating and drinking with soldiers at an army barracks close to the castle last week. The next morning, police apparently showed up and removed the intruder. Queen Elizabeth was not in.
The police came. I thought that Britain doesn't have, they have bobbies. They don't have police, I thought. So this gets really confusing. But here, it says something I've never even heard of called Victoria Barracks. Windsor security breach. I've seen something with this adorned on, but in Buckingham, they called it Buckingham, wherever the Big Ben thing the clock is. That's where I stood and took a photo back in like 1980 something. But again, there was no tour guide, and not knowing the city, and I was little, I was expecting the adults to know.
At Windsor Castle at the time, the barracks are home to the guards with a ceremonial role as protectors of Windsor Castle and Buckingham Palace. A British Army spokesman said the Army takes this breach of security extremely.
And now this is Deux Mon Droit. Oh, and look, it says Noah on it. Oh my goodness. And it says Pense. Wonder what that could possibly mean in real world.
And it will be thoroughly investigated as a matter of priority.
Did they have some Jesus juice?
What is that?
The wine.
Drinking water to wine, man. I would love to know at what point they got suspicious and they were like, I don't think he's a priest.
As soon as he started drinking and cursing like a sailor, it was probably something up, so something's not right here.
Yeah. Something tipped him off.
Yeah, exactly.
A tattoo on his wrist.
All the boozing. All right, now to something a little lighter. I know there's a lot of important things happening in the world, but we're going to end with the little lighter subject here, the Met Gala, of course.
I'm actually going to go back to the Tulsa, Oklahoma thing. 108 years in the making, and flash forward to where their whatevers are in New York and what they're up to, because I was not invited to the Met Gala. The theme was all about black and brown people and this gilded whatever. It's really nauseating, honestly. The entire theme of New York seems to be this. It's like they're, and I find the black and brown people like the most oppressive, like storytellers. It's horrible, and there's no getting away from it either. All right, this is what it sounds like.
A story more than a century in the making. A district court judge ruled yesterday that the last three survivors of the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre, Viola Fletcher, Leslie Benenfeld Randall, and Hughes Van Ellis, will be allowed to seek reparations in court. The massacre killed about 300 residents in the Greenwood neighborhood of Tulsa, known as Black Wall Street. The city of Tulsa says the massacre happened too long ago for the lawsuit to be allowed to move forward. No trial date has been set.
Yeah, it's crazy because you look at some of the testimony from Miss Viola Fletcher before Congress, and she said it's a day she will never forget. So,
where do you find those things? Because I wasn't taught those things. They're not in the school system in New York, or at least in the school system I was exposed to and my children were exposed to. Apparently, she knows about it. They taught her. They didn't teach the other guy at the table.
at the very least, you'd think that they would honor and recognize these three survivors, 300 plus people killed.
Yeah, I didn't learn about this until I became an adult. This was something I wasn't taught in school. So when I first
And I wonder, who exposed him to it as an adult? Would it have anything to do with that horrid NFL league?
learned about
And their social convention with perpetuating some history or historical context or reference growing more dangerous in their activism silently from some upper echelon league that's fueled by like super society? I'm just curious because I see a lot of meandering going on. I also feel very oppressed in New York myself, and I don't have the same avenues where I can actually escape from any of this.
the 1921 Tulsa Massacre, I was blown away. And I think there's a majority of people within this country that are not sure exactly what happened. What we do know is there was a lot of lives lost, a lot of generations that were damaged, and a lot of families torn apart from that massacre.
Thriving African American community.
Yeah.
And you're right, generations is the word for it. 100 years is a long.
Yeah, but oh my gosh, look at this. You're there, he's there, and Tony's outnumbered. As am I. I'm in a room trying to figure out what the hell the world did wrong that forced me into this position where I can't even get I wasn't offered college education. They got to communications level. Something larger and more insidious is going on. I just don't know what it is or why I've been left in this really damaged position. Oh, here's a Broadway play they wrote for themselves that they're now performing.
This just in, folks. The New York Times has proclaimed The Skin of Our Teeth a critics' pick production. It's the most moving and inspiring work of the season. A gorgeous maximalist revival, superbly acted by a wonderful cast. This 5-star Lincoln Center Theater production is an irreverent, rollicking tribute to optimism and a feast for the mind and eye.
This is not a feast. This is on a scale of palate. It's not palatable for my feasting. I didn't invite it to the table. I didn't say it could have a voice on Broadway. I didn't say it could have a residency or stay in the city, within the city limits. I wasn't asked either. And yet here it is, thriving. And it's like and it's all over the one tube I have for communication. It's pasting itself everywhere with its prideful, joyful whatever. While there's a war going on in Ukraine, they're being hurt one way. I'm being hurt by advanced technology within New York City limits by the collapsing star system that I was somehow built into ineffectively.
But don't take my word for it. Get tickets now to see The Skin of Our Teeth, a New York Times Critics Pick, through May 29th only.
Here's another Broadway play that they're priding themselves on.
Here's a Broadway celebration you can't miss. For Colored Girls, a New York Times Critics Pick that pulses and pulses with life. It's a fantasia of dance, poetry, and music. A joy to witness, a shining jewel. It's triumphant, timeless, and ferociously comic. This is the energy-filled, life-imparting show to see. For Colored Girls, for everyone, for a limited time only on Broadway. Tickets now at telecharge.com. CBS 2 News.
Now here's something interesting. I saw on McDonald's the top of the lid. It's a clear lid, and it had something about refresh on one of them, and then it had a different slogan on the other. And I was like, that's weird. And then Tia Fria throws in there refresh. That's a Subway thing. They're like, and I'm like, Subway? And he's like, yeah. He's like, it's all over their commercials. I'm like, oh, right. Because they're like, they're putting this as Italian. I'm like, I don't know. That looks Afghanistan to me. Iraq, maybe. I don't know. That's the wars that have been fought that they've piped. It's definitely not Irish, and it's definitely not my father, which is Northern Italian. If that's Italian, then I guess I'm Austro-Hungarian, perhaps. It gets confusing because nobody's really helpful in New York.
Refresh Italiano.
Subway now has Italian-style capicola on the new supreme meats and matzo meat, just like my nonna.
This is like New York's version of like what they think's Italian in my life frame. I'm like, no.
Nonna makes when she cooks.
I don't cook.
Wait, what?
And in some communities, they call him Latin.
It's a good thing he's so handsome.
Subway keeps refreshing.
In some communities, they call him Greek. It gets really dirty and confusing with the identity thievery in New York. It really just does.
People with plaque psoriasis are...
I don't know who this guy is. They say this guy's name is Tom Ford. Never heard of him.
That. I like that.
I mean, yes, that is actually a
Traditional
representative.
touch,
It
right?
is representative of the Gilded Age, right? Black tie,
Yeah, they look too
white
spicy.
tie,
Those look
those
retro.
two photos. But some folks were quick to push back on the luxurious theme. Actor Riz Ahmed opted for this, a navy blue jacket in homage to the immigrants who he says kept the Gilded Age going.
Okay.
Gabrielle Union's gown had red crystals. Look at this, which she said represented the blood spilled by the black and brown people who built this country.
They built the country, really, because I have ancestors who actually did the stonework on the Brooklyn Bridge, and we're not black and brown.
And then there was Kim Kardashian wearing that dress. This is the dress that Marilyn Monroe wore to sing Happy Birthday to President John F. Kennedy 60 years ago. This is the actual dress. Take a look at the side-by-side.
That's the actual
Side-by-side. That is...
They take everything in New York that could have been really nice and done so with such taste, and they shit all over it. I see it every day I turn this TV on, I'm just like, ugh. These are your humans.
There's my best breathy Marilyn Monroe.
You're teasing. Yes, I have it. You gonna pop out of a cake?
You never know, Nicole.
It
You
was
never know.
Gilded Era glamour. Yeah, Christmas Eve. So, yeah, real present.
But check this out. Wait, the photographer Vogue commissioned for the event spoke to us exclusively before she headed to the Met Gala last night. Flo Ngala is the first black woman commissioned by Vogue to shoot inside the Met Gala.
Wow.
I interviewed her last year after she already photographed the likes of Cardi B and Stacey Abrams. She was just 26 years old at the time. Here's what she told me about getting to shoot the gala this year.
I just hope that I can be a trailblazer in a way that is just very like humbly saying like, let us show you that we can do the work. It should not be that difficult for people who look like me to even have an opportunity to be in the entertainment industry.
Really? Interesting. Shouldn't be really hard for people like me to get a proper husband from the beginning and not have to go through the entire life frames that I was thrust into. And to simultaneously have to watch all of you beg for some camera time each and every day when you have like clearly the ratios in your favor of how many of you have succeeded. I mean, it's nauseating when you look on like Netflix and now they're putting everybody in one scene, one frame. I won't even watch it. I'm like, ugh, this is where the Hollywood's going? Ugh. No thanks. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole Cattaruzza. It's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way Universe, Galaxy is Broken, and it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361.